major things that we heard is, what could we do, what could we develop that would go beyond just air, car, and hotel, and give our customers a better opportunity to save money and to save time. And that's really where Team at Work comes from. So what we did is we went out, because these guys didn't have the resources to do it on themselves, was go out and negotiate discounts, go out and get content that they typically wouldn't have access to, especially in an online environment. And we brought that all into a single solution called Team at Work. And the reason we went after that too is when you look at travel and entertainment expense across a company's bottom line, that only represents about 1/5 of their total spend. So what are they spending, the other 80% on? It's other things like goods and services outside of travel. So what this does is it gives you the opportunity to help your company save money beyond the lot. So it's not just about that car rental, but I'm going to help you save money on air, I'm going to help you save money on hotels, I'm going to help you save money on expense reporting, things like that. And so as we get into this, you'll see how we've developed it and how it's a very user-friendly solution that does a lot of, bells and whistles, for lack of a better term, for your customers. So the solution that we built is essentially an integrated platform that encompasses travel and business services. And as I just mentioned, it's going to give your customers not only tangible time and savings in that respect, but it's going to give them give them access to discounts that they normally wouldn't have access to. So essentially anything that they really have to buy for their business, for the most part, they'll be able to find in the solution. The feedback that we've gotten, I think this is the 6th summit we've done, is that it's too good to be true. And in some instances, it is. Of course, there's going to be gaps here and there that you'll encompass, as Brad was mentioning. People are people. They're always going to find something they can poke a hole in. But what we think we've done is going to satisfy 90% of those use cases. The other piece that's really important is it's not only easy to use, but it's easy to set up. So when we start to look at deployment schedules, and I understand that eLinks was kind of like a heart transplant in some respects, this will be much easier for you to deploy. You can essentially do it yourself for your customer. They can do it themselves and basically walk through a wizard and set it up in about 15 minutes, and then you've got a working site ready to go. So let's take a look at what they're going to find once they've gotten into EHI Direct. And there's really 5 pillars of the solution that we'll focus on. And I'll give you a couple of tips on each one, on different things that you can sell anecdotally to your customers when presenting this solution. One is travel, obviously. You've got the car rental piece, which they're not going to lose anything that they have today, so they're going to have that. But in air, and I think there was a question over there about will they have access to what they would have on the general web, and the answer is yes. Not to bore you with details, we use this company called ITA software, which was purchased by Google about 18 months ago. So it gives you a much more comprehensive search capability than what you would have in a standard GDS search. So you could have thousands of fare options across a single fare market. You're also going to have discounted hotels. So we're going to source hotels from the GDS, so you'll get standard reservation rates that you would get going through a TMC. But we've also sourced some merchant content from Orbitz today. It may change in the future, not sure. But you'll have prepaid hotels. So, this stay, if I reserve it in advance, might be $200. But if I buy it right now and it's non-refundable, maybe it's $150. So there'll be different opportunities like that in the travel space. But the long story short is that they're not going to lose anything by going through this system. Everything they see in here will be comparable to what they would find on their own. The next piece is purchase, and what we've got here is about 650,000 SKUs across a multitude of different products, from office supplies to restaurant supplies to manufacturing supplies. Anything you can think of, you can pretty much find in here, and I challenge you guys to challenge Matt Beck when he's doing the demonstration to find something in there that a business might want that we don't have in there. And that's continuing to grow, by the way. So today, you're going to find an average savings of 25 to even 50% in some cases. And the reasoning behind that is we've gone out and sole sourced from category providers. So Office Depot, for example, is our office supply merchant. We don't go out and do a deal with Staples or Office Max, for example. So they are exclusive to that category. In return for that exclusivity, they give us deeper discounts than you can find on their own website. So again, you're talking to a small business, what's the benefit of buying my office supplies through EHI Direct? Is you're going to get 15 to 30% savings even if you went to that website directly. So we're using our buying power and your buying power to bring better deals to your customers. The third concept, or the third pillar of the solution, is dining. So today, as Brad mentioned, we utilize it's more like a search capability, and we've used OpenTable in the past for booking of reservations. And what we found is there was a ton of search going on, especially through our mobile device customers, where they were looking up restaurants and then they were picking up the phone and calling or clicking a call. So we weren't getting a lot of OpenTable activity. So what we're going to do over the next few months is develop an offers technology. So when people are in there looking for dining reservations, or let's say they just booked a hotel through EHI Direct, you know that they're staying here at the BWI Hilton, maybe you can offer them a restaurant deal down the road. Hey, give me $40, I'll give you $80 worth of cuisine. So you think like Groupon, Living Social, that type of opportunity. We have an offers company within Reardon, so we're going to incorporate that into this experience as well. And it's not going to be limited to dining. It'll be other things too that you guys might want to offer to your customers. Maybe it's event tickets. Hey, the Ravens are playing the Patriots. I know there's somebody from Boston back there. We were having a discussion earlier. It could be any multitude of things. So the thought process behind it is we're going to deliver convenience to your customers, savings, and at the same time, it's going to increase your loyalty with those customers. They're going to say, wow, that's really cool. Look what I got from EHI. The fourth piece is shipping, and I'll get into a little bit more details, but we're going to give your customers the opportunity to save on their shipping costs. And even though they're going to have to come and enter their own customer number, we'll show you how the functionality will allow them to manage their shipping expenses much more efficiently and to drive cost savings on what they're spending today in shipping. And then finally, what wraps it all up together is an expense reporting process that's going to allow those travelers, it's going to allow those individual business users, those admins, to be able to manage all of this spend in a one-stop shop. Now, why is this important, especially when we talk about the small to mid-sized business market? Is about 75 to 80% of these companies, these small guys, about 100,000 in the United States, are using Excel spreadsheets. So it's a huge step up from what they're doing today. These guys are submitting their expense reports on paper, they're mailing in receipts. You'll be able to provide them with a solution that will eliminate all those costs and all that tedious work, and we'll show you how we do that. So let's take a look under the hood, and we'll go through a few of these slides in detail before I hand over to Matt, and Matt will walk you through a live demonstration of what's actually in the tool live today. So where they would start, and this is probably a page that you guys will become very familiar with, is this will be the EHI Direct landing page. So all you would have to do, or all your customer would have to do, is click on Register Now. It's going to take you through a series of pages that will take probably about 15 minutes, where they'll enter information, they'll enter traveler data, emails, etc. But once they're done with that process, the site is essentially set up. So when you think about the architecture of Deem at Work, EHI Direct is the master site, and underneath that, we're going to build small sites individually for each customer. So each customer will have that ability to go into their own site based on their username and password that they put out to all their travelers. What the admins will have, and you can have as many admins as you want at each company, is the ability to track all the spend that's taking place through the system. So as Brad mentioned earlier, you're not going to lose anything in terms of the reports that you have today. We'll also be providing reports directly to EHI so you guys can see what your customers are doing. But the customer as well will have access to some pretty simple reporting that will be able to give them an idea of what they're spending today. So think about it in an environment where you've got 20 to 30 travelers and everything's done manually. Admins kind of do their own thing. They're going out to OTAs. Somebody has a relationship whose sister owns a travel agency, so they're kind of all over the place. There's no consolidated look on what the company's spending, so they have no ability to manage it if you can't report on it. So this is an important piece that probably most of these customers don't have today. So again, another value add that you'd be able to provide them through EHI Direct. When we log in, and this is from an end user perspective, could be an admin too who's booking on behalf of somebody else, and we'll get into those details a little bit later. But essentially you have a quick start page where you can go in and build a trip. You can go into more detail on the travel tab, and we'll show you that. But essentially you've got everything here at your fingertips, whether it be planning a trip, managing an expense report, buying some sort of product, goods and services from the purchase application, or looking up reservations, whether they're archived or upcoming. Then we'll talk a little bit about mobile, how that all ties in as well. Once you're on the travel page, it's pretty straightforward. You've got air, car, and hotel. You also have the ability for airport parking. But I'd say that the takeaways, again, just to reiterate, is you're not going to lose anything as a traveler or as a company in terms of access to content by using EHI Direct. You're going to have the best prices that you would find on the consumer web. There's always going to be an exception here and there where a supplier may hold back their best inventory for their own website, and we can talk about those examples, but they're really few and far between. For the most part, you're going to have everything here in terms of travel. As I mentioned too, you'll have discounted hotels, so this is unique content that they're going to have access to that they wouldn't be able to get on their own unless they were really savvy, but for the most part, everything here is going to be unique. And then, of course, they're going to have their pre-negotiated car prices. So as Brad mentioned earlier as well, the content that we're going to serve up through the solution will be coming from a direct connection to your host system. So everything that's in there for national and enterprise will be surfaced directly through the solution. When we look at purchase, we've got about 650,000 products in here today and growing. So we have a team over at Reardon, which is basically headed up by the former procurement officer at Siemens. And his job and his team's job is to basically go out and continue to build the product set out here. So this is something that's going to continue to grow. But essentially, no pun intended, your customers are going to get enterprise discounts which they wouldn't be able to do on their own. Based on our buying power, the fact that you guys are going to be rolling this out will give us the ability to go out and get better deals and continue to grow this inventory. Something that we're doing right now, I don't know if it's something that will be done forever, but to give an additional competitive advantage to the solution is you can offer free shipping. So if they're looking at Staples.com or Amazon.com and they're looking at EHI Direct Purchase, we're probably going to be a little bit better in terms of standard price, but in addition to that, we'll probably have free shipping, which could take as much as $5 to $20 off the total price. So you'll have a bunch of advantages there when selling this part of the solution. When we look at dining, so today, the current functionality is that you can search and look at more than 35 restaurants in the database. So as a comparison, if you went to OpenTable directly, they only have about 12,000 restaurants. So you get about 3 times the amount of inventory. This will be available not only in an online setting, but also on the mobile web. So if you've got an iPhone and Android, unfortunately, if you have a BlackBerry, you'll be able to get access to this information. You can also use it kind of like an Evite functionality. You'll be able to invite colleagues, where they'll be able to download it to their calendar, you'll be able to put it in your calendar. And as I mentioned, the goal, and we're working on this right now, is to incorporate offers into this flow. So not only will you have access to look at just general availability of restaurants, but you'll be able to start getting offers for your customers as well, something that will be entirely unique to you guys. Shipping. So if you're going to go in there and load your number, your customer number, let's say you have a FedEx account, how is that actually going to save you more money doing it here than going directly to FedEx.com? If any of you guys are familiar with that user experience, if I went and I've had a FedEx account number for 15 years or so, if you go to FedEx.com, they don't really tell you the price until after you've selected the service. And if you wanted to compare their rates for the different service levels, you basically have to go back and forth. Because the goal of FedEx is to get you to take the 8 a.m. delivery the next day, which is, no joke, about $50.